Our group is a very unique and beautiful group with so many countries represented. We currently have over 40 countries represented in our group. They should come join us. Hey, I started AADFC in 2019 when I found out there was no community of people of African descent here in St. Albert. And over the years since we came in 2010, I got to meet a lot of people of African descent here in St. Albert. And in 2019, I reached out to them one at a time and said, you know what, let's form a community here in St. Albert. And we started with an evening in the park, and it was a potluck. I said, let's come together and start something here in St. Albert. And that's how we had our first event on August the 24th, 2019 here in St. Albert at Lions Park. So it was just the need for a community of people of African Caribbean descent here in St. Albert. It is so important that it is celebrated here and preserved, else it's all going to be lost, because we find out that some of our brothers and sisters that are like 7, 8 generation Africans, most of them can't trace their way home. They can't really tell. It's not their fault, but what happened is that since some of the great-great-grandparents were taken as slaves from Africa, they were not allowed to preserve their culture. They were not allowed to practice the things. So over the years, they lost their cultures, their traditions, their names were also lost. That's the reason why some of them can't really trace their names back to Africa, where most of people of African Caribbean descent are from. So some of them can't trace their home. So it's important for us to preserve it by teaching our children, and it's also to make them proud of who they are, because when we do the things that we do here, our children become very proud of who they are, their identity, their cultures, and it's not something to be ashamed of. And so if a newcomer comes, they will keep asking, where can I braid my hair? Where can I buy this? Where can I have a barber? Where different questions that help them settle here in St. Albert are being asked in those groups. So creating a group makes it easy for you to ask those questions, and you know that the people you're asking understand, because we have in St. Albert as a group, we have St. Albert chat, we have original St. Albert chat, you have this. A black person is not likely to go there to ask, where can I braid my hair in St. Albert, and they might not have those answers. But in the group, they will have different business owners that braid hair. They'll say, oh, I braid hair. Okay, this is where I found this. Recently plantains were being sold in Costco. It was shared on the group. He said, okay, Costco sells plantains. We never knew that happened. So creating that group is so important for newcomers. People ask about schools. Okay, we have French-speaking immigrants. Where are your kids going to school? So that also helps the new immigrant know, okay, there's a community, I could get help. Also, it helps those that are long-term residents to have places that they could go hang out with other people, because now we have a community. Recently, we had Alberta Culture Days, and for the first time, we took our Alberta Culture Days event to the schools. And so we had a community member that was basically our cultural ambassador, going to schools and teaching about the Ghana culture with her clothes and kente. So a kid that was in the school was in this class. They were talking about the Ghana kente. They were showing them what it looks like, the Adowa dance and things. So this child's mom, they went for a party in Edmonton, and while they were coming out from the north of Edmonton, the kid and the mom saw a group of people dressed in Ghana kente fabric, all dressed, and the kid told the mom that, I know this cloth that this person is wearing is called kente, and that this cloth is from Ghana, and in Ghana they have a dance called Adowa, and so this child was just saying about it, talking about the king, and so the man was so impressed was really impressed, was like, oh, I'm going to share this with the king, to say I met somebody here, a kid from St. Albert in Edmonton. So the mom now tagged us on Facebook and said, this is what happened based on the work you guys are doing. So now a child in St. Albert that has never been to Africa now knows about Ghana, knows about Kente, knows about, it opens the child's mind.